good friends. She was a mum from my daughter's nursery school, you know, the little kids played together. Her husband left her, and she was left with 3 children and absolutely no money, and he was refusing to help. And one day, whilst we were sitting around the dining table, she announced to us group of mums that she was joining an escort agency. And to be honest, I was completely terrified about that. I knew, you know, sort of nothing really about the sex industry. I still knew quite very little about sex and nothing about industry at all. And I was really worried that this girl was going to be chopped up and made into sausages. And bearing in mind, I say, it was the very end of the 1980s, we were just mums and virtually nobody had mobile phones in those days. And the situation was that the agency would phone my friend and send her to a hotel or to somebody's house, and she would drive herself. And nobody knew where she was or where she was going and if she was okay. And of course, there were no phones and no way of communicating as there are now. Most of you look too young to remember those days when there were no phones. But it was true. It happened, really, black and white days. So because I was so kind of concerned about this, I took it upon myself to drive her to her appointments so that at least somebody was sitting outside and knew where she was. And she would go into her client and she would pretend that I was sort of a big man in the car, and that if he got a bit leery, that I would sort of go and beat him up. So luckily that we never had to deal with that. But that was the kind of way that it all started. And after a little while, it became very obvious that the agency she was working for were really awful with their customer service. You know, she was busy customer servicing, and their customer service was very lax. And we had a few instances where the customer was expecting somebody else of a different size and shape and colour, quite possibly, and they ended up with my friend who was wrong, and they were very unhappy and it was causing problems. So on the drive back, actually from Northampton, I remember it well, I said to her, well, how difficult can it be for us to start our own agency? Because I'm sure we could do this better. Why say to a customer that you have the lady that he wants and then send somebody completely different and cause a potentially dangerous situation that never needs to happen? Sure. My very first escort agency started with a cooperative of a load of mums, and we thought we could do it better than the agency she was, and that's how it was. Treacle Tarts was my very first escort agency. Upper Crust Delights, oh dear. The good old days. With any business, the sex industry is all about using your skills. And customer servicing for me is kind of something that comes really, really naturally. And kind of running a business, understanding the customer and understanding what they want, even though I didn't know the words, but about making customers happy. So I very much ended up in the role as phone answerer and sort of arranger of things. Which is very illegal, but we'll come on to that in a minute. And the girls kind of did what they were best at, which was the servicing customers.